Welcome to Go Island. I am your host, the Big Ka Huzzi, and this is your weekly sports. Now, around the world, there are many great nations and clubs across team sports, but on the island, we don't just support our GOAT teams. We always back the boys. As usual, football comes first. Our GOATs, the Reds, have the Liverpool Derby this weekend, Saturday the 20th at 1:30 p.m. SAST, live from Anfield at the Kop. And of course, this isn't a top 5 team, but it's the namesake Derby, so you already know we're backing the boys, the reigning champs, LFC, all the way. And now for rugby. The Rugby Championship continues with both our teams of the All Blacks and Springboks participating in the tournament. Now, over the past 2 weeks, the great rugby nations that we back of South Africa and New Zealand have clashed twice, with the first time being at Eden Park when the All Blacks picked up the W. And this past weekend from Wellington, they went head to head again. But let's not focus on this, because this week there are no fixtures for our teams of South Africa and New Zealand, but they'll both return the weekend after this one, with the All Blacks facing the Wallabies on Saturday the 27th of September, 7:05 a.m. SAST, live from Eden Park, New Zealand, and the Springboks taking on Los Pumas on the same Saturday at 5:10 p.m. SAST, live from Durban, South Africa. It's time for the 3 most violent letters in combat sports, the UFC. The cage is about to get us locked in, so fighters, ready. And the fights that the UFC should be making, not just why, but how. Someone needs to get data to see this, but still we want to know though, what's Hunter's number? Now September is all about girls want girls, and we're fixing the issues in the women's side of the UFC that will get everyone more hyped to watch them. This week, we're giving you the first part of an overall plan they should execute for the women's side of the UFC, with the title and gatekeeper fights that Hunter should make, but still hasn't given us his number. So, the gatekeeper fight, we would have Juliana Pena, the number 1 ranked bantamweight, versus Raquel Pennington, 2, the 2nd ranked bantamweight. For the gatekeeper to stop contenders moving up in the women's bantamweight division rankings. Now, these women have fought each other, and both of these women are former bantamweight champions. They fought just last year, ending in a split decision. Both of these fighters have been in the division and stayed at the top even without the gold. So let's have them face off again to decide who's the gatekeeper of the women's bantamweight division, so that any up-and-comer has to face the winner of this fight first. And if they lose, then one of these girls gets another crack at the title. And the title fight to make, Tatiana Suarez, the 2nd ranked strawweight, versus Mackenzie Dern, ranked number 5 in the strawweight division. And this would be the title fight for the vacant women's strawweight title, because Zhang Weili is moving up, obviously, and vacated. Now, you've got Dern, who stayed relevant and at the top of the rankings consistently, plus Suarez, who in her second last fight lost by unanimous decision to the champ, who's now moved up to fight Shevchenko. And this leaves a void in the women's strawweight division. So let's get these 2 contenders for the vacant title, because Dern brings the eyes for the looks and is in the top 5. Plus, Suarez has been dominant largely and finally got back into action just this past weekend. Hunter, booking. I don't do if, buts, and maybes. Wise words, but right now we do exactly that and look at a period of UFC history and ponder the question, what if? And of course, September's theme has been bloody bones. Jon Jones' violent, chaotic, and drama-filled run from winning the title back in early 2011 at UFC 128 through multiple incidents and getting stripped of his light heavyweight belt until he regained the championship back for a second time at the end of 2018 at UFC 232, all while remaining undefeated inside of the octagon. And to wrap up this chapter of if, buts, and maybes, we have to ask the question of what if. And this week's what if Bones was natty? Back in July of 2017, Jon Jones defeated DC in the rematch by third round KO to reclaim his strip light heavyweight title. And then USADA nailed him for steroids, overturning the result to a no contest. What was the impact? Jon Jones stripped of the title again, and with no fight, the belt was returned to Cormier. Now, prior to the championship being put back on DC, Jones had called out Brock Lesnar for a heavyweight move. And I mean, both of them in steroids. If you know, you know. And following one more fight, DC then took this idea and went up to heavyweight to become the second ever to hold two titles at the same time. Think about the glory that could have awaited Jon had he been natty. Double champ against Stipe, which obviously we saw that fight win more recently. Then a super fight against Brock. His claim to the GOAT title would be undeniable. Even so, Bloody Bones is still undefeated and has the most title fight wins with a record 16 championship wins. In comparison to another GOAT, Khabib has a total of 13 fights in the UFC as a whole. And Jones has more title fights alone. If Jones was natty in 2017, DC might have never been champ. And Jones could have walked straight into double champ status plus a Lesnar super fight. The WWE is bringing that fire, and over here we don't just shoot first, we shoot often, because on this side it's just heat. Now everyone talks about who's on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling or who's your top 5 all time in WWE, but really, who's the GOAT? And this week we're looking at what's with the Attitude, obviously looking back at the Attitude Era from 1997 to 2002. And the best of category this time around, best rivalries. And our GOAT pick, Stone Cold and The Rock. And honestly, do I even need to explain this one? Two of the biggest stars in all of WWE history to this day. Both neither a straight heel nor babyface, just fucking over as shit. Regardless, a WrestleMania trilogy with 2 of the matches being during the Attitude Era and taking the main event spot for both WrestleMania 15 and 17. Probably the 2 biggest reasons for any WWE fan getting into the show. If you were born between 1985 and 2000, these are probably the guys that first got your interest rising in the WWE. Also, promos and segments that are timeless and unmatched. So when it comes to the best rivalry of the Attitude Era and they ask who's the GOAT, it's the great one, the Brahma Bull, the People's Champ, The Rock, and Mr. 316, don't trust anyone, the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stone Cold versus The Rock, 3 WrestleMania matches, endless promos, and still the rivalry that defines the Attitude Era. Why lift weights? Why eat so much? Why spend hours in the gym? Why care so much about progress? We do it all for one reason. For TG, baby. For the gains. And we might not be bodybuilders, but we still building some bodies, damn it. This week is for the graveyard lifts, where we give you movements to completely bury the mom muscle of the month for September, which happens to be delts, side delts, and traps. So 3 killers to build traps and side delts, graveyard style. Number 1, upright cable rows. If you do it right, it hits both the traps and side delts. Fast up and slow and controlled down. Keep elbows up and out and raise the bar attached to neck height and pause before easing on the eccentric. Now, of course, you use the straight bar attachment on the cable. And then next, dumbbell superset lateral raises for side delts. Pick a low weight that's easy for 7 to 8 reps, no problem. Then you're going to do 10 of those, finishing with the dumbbells and arms raised slightly above your head. So yeah, elbows up until here and then fully extend. And immediately after those 10 slow and controlled, you're going to do 10 half reps, raising to a 45 to 60 degree angle like that. Trust, you'll feel the burn and you'll be glad you didn't pick the weight for ego lifting. And then the last movement, behind the back barbell shrugs on Smith machine for traps. Feels a bit awkward at first, but it fucking works. Easier to go heavy too. The reverse underhand grip forces you to lift with just your traps. Think of trying to shove your shoulders past your ears. Hold at the top and control the weight down before firing up again. These aren't accessory moves. These are graveyard lifts that make your side delts and traps scream for mercy. And that's a wrap for this week's sports drop. And you can like and subscribe, and if you have any thoughts, drop a comment. And from Goat Island, this is the Big Ka Huzzi. Check you again.